Hi there, Paul Fagan at the bitsixteen studio here. A few people have asked me what it's like to record an audiobook. Some people have been actors or VOs, and it's something that they haven't done before. So I just thought I'd talk for a minute or two about it. From the point of view of the voiceover artist, it's a very different gig than, say, adverts or e-learning or any of those type of things. Um, with an advert, you have 1 minute of script maximum, maybe even 30 seconds. And you have a full hour to get through that. So you can do take after take to perfect the lines in the script, maybe even change some of them if the copywriter is there in the studio. And sometimes the things you think will work don't really work. And you try out different things, and eventually by the end of the hour you have something that you, the client, the producer are all happy with. Now with an audiobook it's totally different. You could have anything up to maybe 120,000 words or more to get through in a few days, and you don't have that luxury of sitting in the studio and then deciding how you're going to read each line. You really have to do the preparation work beforehand. So from the VO point of view, that means reading the book, and it also means taking notes. Which character is which, and how do they sound? How old are they? Are you going to read it like a storyteller who's just affecting a slightly different voice to suggest the different characters in the script? Or are you going to do it like a radio play if you're a good impersonator? And are you going to try to almost impersonate those characters so they sound totally different from you and your narrator voice? Now, the latter is very hard to do, and not everybody's going to do it that way. But regardless, you still have to prepare and you still have to decide how your voices sound, all the voices of your different characters. From a producer point of view, what do I have to look out for? Well, I have to know the book too. I have to understand what it's about, whether it's dark, whether it's light, whether it's funny, and how it changes from scene to scene. If the opening scene is going to be dramatic, I need to know that from the outset. Otherwise, we could have a lighter beginning, a lighter read at the beginning, and might realize later, oh, that really should have been darker. It needed to be more dramatic. So we really have to go back and do it again. And that's not something you want to be doing. You really want to just forge ahead and get it recorded, and get it recorded well. So I have to prepare as well. I also have to watch out for the characters in the script to make sure that the VO is using the right voice, the voice that they decided that would be appropriate. They may have discussed this with the author as well. So that will be pretty much cast in stone. This is the voice I'm going to do for that character. This is the voice I'm going to do for this character over here. So I got to be aware of that to make sure that they don't voice, one of the characters with the voice of one of the other characters. And I also have to get a sense of the text as we're going along as well, just on a kind of granular level. I have to make sure the emphasis is in the right place, because if it isn't, it can totally change the tone of the sentence, or at least it can put the listener at, it can make them feel that, the VO doesn't have a full sense of the paragraph or whatever. I mean, if somebody's going to say, well, I saw a red car, and the other person says, I saw a blue car. Well, the emphasis might be on blue, and it might be on I as well. Well, I saw a red car. I saw a blue car. There's the emphasis. But if somebody says, I saw the red car, and the other person says, I saw a blue car, that doesn't work. That's obviously a very simple example, but you can just see how emphasis is important from sentence to sentence. And other than that, then we just want to forge ahead. We want to make sure the sight reading of the VO is impeccable. This is a really important thing. If you've done VO gigs, adverts and other short recordings, you might have a lot more time. Even with IVR prompts, they tend to be fairly short. If you get it wrong, you can stop, you can start again. With audiobook recordings, because of the volume that you have to get through in a short amount of time, you really got to have good sight reading. That means you can't really be tripping up too much. Tripping up is part of the process of reading, it's part of the process of voiceover. But if you're doing it a lot, it's going to affect your confidence, and it's going to really slow down the session. I mean, if you think about it, if you have a line that's 10 words and you read it once, it's 10 words. But if you read it twice now, you've doubled the size of the sentence, really. We've now 20 words to read. At an extreme level, if you had to read every single line again in the book, which is unlikely, but on an extreme level, you've effectively doubled the size of the book, and you aren't going to get double the amount of days to record it. So we really have to forge ahead. And if we do have retakes, we have to record over them so that we give the editor, who in all likelihood won't be at the recording session, we give the editor a clean recording that they have as little as possible to fix it up. So we don't want we don't want a paragraph of text and then after that we have a retake of line 3. If you're editing that yourself, you might be able to make mental notes and say, no, I want to do it that way because I want to keep those 2 takes and decide later which one to use. We don't have that luxury if somebody else is editing it. So you can't really do that because otherwise you're just going to confuse the hell out of everybody. So that's pretty much it. Now what I have here is, I have an example of a Dublin voiceover artist, Brendan McDonald, who has a lot of experience in the field. And here he is reading for a recent recording we did of CK McDonnell's The Stranger Times, which we recorded for Penguin Random House in the UK. And in this clip, you will just see, it's a clip from early on in the audiobook, and you'll just see how much preparation Brendan has done. And you'll also hear that he's really impersonating the characters. He's not just giving them a slightly different voice in Brendan's voice. He's really trying to impersonate the characters. So for me, this felt more like a radio play, and it really added to it. It was extremely entertaining. But you'll see in this clip how he just motors along. There are no mistakes in this clip. There'll be a few in the entire audiobook, obviously, but not many. And you'll see how he changes. He flicks from character to narrator, back to character, and between characters as well. So let's have a look at Brendan reading this now.
Okay then, jump. I've had a better idea. I'm not going to shoot you. Instead, I'll let you jump, and then I'll continue to publish your articles. What articles? The ones where you admit that all this ghost stuff is nonsense. Hannah heard a gasp. You wouldn't dare! Sure I would. And then I'll publish one about how all the UFO stuff is a load of guff too. Hannah heard the voice of the man she'd seen leaning out of the window earlier, Ox. Hey, what did I do? Well, when your soulmate here takes the jump, I assume you'll follow in a grand romantic gesture. For the last time, we're just flatmates. All right, that's enough. Grace's voice boomed over the others. All of you, back inside, right this minute. Nobody is jumping off anything or shooting anyone. There is a young, impressionable girl in the building. Have you all forgotten that? I don't care, came the aforementioned impressionable girl's voice from somewhere else. Shut up, Stella. I will not tell all of you again. Now, I am doing the lunch orders. Ox, quarter pounder with cheese, chips and gravy. Reginald? I'm Reginald, Grace repeated. Halloumi salad, please. Certainly. I'll have the all-day breakfast, shouted Bancroft. I told you that you would not get lunch if you threatened to shoot anybody again. It's not even loaded. All right, fine. Bancroft leaned back in the window and looked at Hannah. What do you want? Excuse me? Lunch. Don't tell me you don't know what that is. You've done bugger all except eat it for a decade. Hannah opened her mouth and then closed it again. Wait, you're hiring me? Bancroft sighed. Yes, Your CV may contain absolutely nothing, but out of 38 applicants, it was one of only 2 that contained fewer than 3 spelling mistakes. This newspaper may be a pile of excrement, but as long as I'm here, it'll be correctly spelled excrement.
So there you go. I hope that gave you some sort of insight into what it's like to record an audiobook. If you have any questions about the process, there's obviously lots of other things you could talk about, or just indeed the process of recording any sort of voiceover, let me know in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. Thanks a million.